All right, guys, another day of August trading in the books. You've got another, I would say like these last four candles don't even really look like candles, do they? Look like little plus signs or dashes or that one's a little T. You're just getting very low volume. This is typical August. Still hats off to the group. Some nice calls in the chat room today, but man, the skill that you should be working on if you're a somewhat newer trader or if you are inclined to over trade dull markets, you should be working on the skill of not trading when there's nothing to trade. It's a skill that most traders never develop. I sat there hours at a time today without trading, trying to stay awake. But anyway, a couple highlights from the day. I did call ORPH in the chat room over this 2-minute candle, right? It was on the morning gap playlist, and I called the red to green, which is basically, technically the red to green is through the open at 572. But basically I was looking at that. It topped out at the 3/4, so over 575. And look what it did. That's a huge move. It went from the 575 area that I called it to about 714. That's a huge gain. Ended up rolling back over, but we're day traders. We rent them. That was a nice one. And another one I remember from today was ZEV, which kind of has an ugly daily now. But Wayne called it long here over 11. So it opened. There's the opening candle. This is yesterday's trading. And it topped out at 1112. Kind of cup and handle intraday. Bumped its head on 11 a couple times. I loved Wayne's idea. I reiterated it over the mic. Said that was one thing I'm watching is the ZEV through 11. Look what happens. Gets through 11 and I don't know, almost goes to 12 in about 12 minutes. It didn't quite get there. Got to 1197, then briefly broke 12. So it's a neat little trade also. So there's a couple highlights from what otherwise is extremely boring day. I'm going to go right into what I'm watching for tomorrow. Fubo gapped up today, but never gave any kind of gap play setup. So we're going to watch and see if it gives a long setup tomorrow. ZY, I'm not in love with, but it was on Bounce Watch today. I did not take a trade in it, but it did kind of find or hold support. So I'm watching that for a possible long setup tomorrow. I don't love this one. This thing's a squinky trader, FLGC, but look at it on 15-minute candles. I mean, it had this big move, and then let's see, it topped out on August 5th at 1490. And then you kind of have a series of lower highs. Yesterday hit 1425. Today hit 1411. So over this kind of 2-day high, we could break through this most recent high of 1490. I'm not in love with this because, like I said, when you look at the daily, you've had a big move and you've got like 6 days in a row where you got kind of topping tails. So it's heavy up there. So keep that in mind before if you see a setup, before you think it's time to go big on that one, right? LITB, big volume today. Nobody could figure out why. Maybe it had news. I don't know. Closing well off its highs though, 173. I'm going to look for a follow-up setup tomorrow. UPST was on the gap playlist. I never took a trade in. I think Wayne called it over 170 late in the day, and it ended up going to, it topped out at 172. Certainly big volume. There's not a whole lot of chart to go on because it's a relatively new issue. Looks like maybe December. December 16th. It looks like they went public 2020. So anyway, it's most recent high 190, 189. Today's high 172. Certainly interesting, worth watching. DYAI, big day today and closing. I don't know, pretty strong close all things considered. Topped out at 556. Late last month hit 560. So we'll see. Definitely a decent setup to watch tomorrow. UONE, kind of a sleeper pick. But had this pop a few days ago, topped out at 810. Next day hit 793. Today hit 798-ish. So kind of a pop and then kind of a little flag going on. Maybe back through 8 with some volume. It could be worth a shot for a trade. WPRT looks kind of similar to that, right? Had a pop and kind of flagging. HOOD has been on Bounce Watch. I've not taken one trade in it since I started watching it for a bounce because it has not given a setup, but it goes back on watch. Again, whenever I have a bounce play that doesn't really give me a clean or doesn't give me a trigger, doesn't give me a trade, if it's another red day, I'll put it right back on the list. So that's what I'm doing there. Same thing with BT. Actually, I'm not sure if I had this on watch coming into today, but certainly interesting after the really, really strong move from like 4 to over 20. 3 days lower on declining volume, especially if Bitcoin strong. I like this setup for a bounce play tomorrow. Groupon, GRPN just goes back on Bounce Watch. Didn't give a setup today, so we, like I just said, we put it right back on Bounce Watch for the next day. ASTR is on Bounce Watch because it moved from 837 in 4 sessions to 1268. So I mean that's almost a 50% move, right? And now you had a red day and another red day back down at some support on the chart. So that one goes on bounce watch. KXIN, same thing. Strong stock, couple red days, goes on bounce watch. And then I've got 3 potential gappers for the morning. Open, OPEN, closed at 1450. And after hours, this went out at 1740. So potential gapper there tomorrow. And we'll trade it if it gives us one of our gap play setups on an intraday basis. CLOV also gapping, went out at 892 in after hours. The most recent high was yesterday at 923. So that one's kind of interesting. A lot of shorts in the name. And then SONO, which I actually own their product, and I like it a lot. I never base a trade off of me liking a company's product. But anyway, it's gapping, and after hours it went out at 38.39. So, all the way, let's see, all the way up somewhere around here is where it went out. So certainly worth watching for a gap play setup tomorrow. And we'll watch other gappers in the pre-market as well. And that'll round off our list. I'm done babbling. I'll see you all in the chat room in the morning.